Hello there, and as usual, I'm Aaron from LastStandGamers, and welcome. So today I want to discuss with you a very exciting and unique opportunity. Now imagine if you could possess your ships, your items, your creations from Space Engineers in reality. You can have a physical copy, something that you can actually hold in your hand and go, wow, or maybe you could even secretly pretend to fly it around your room. But anyway, none of that, we're all grown up here. We're going to be talking about printing your ships in Space Engineers, 3D printing them, and I'm going to show you some of the printed ships that I've got my hands on and the process that you can go through to get them printed. Now, courtesy of Binary Now and Space Engineers Prints.com, I managed to get a number of my ships 3D printed, and I was extremely excited to rip open that box and find 3 ships and a spaceman awaiting me, and I'm just going to show you them quite quickly. I've got a few videos and I've got some close-up stills to really bring out the details while I talk about them. So if you don't know too much about 3D printing, it's the process of mixing plastic and printing them up in layers. So a machine goes across like a standard sort of printer, building up the layers like on a piece of paper until it has a thick 3D model. So these are of course models as well, they're not toys, even though I could not resist the urge to pick it up, make some spaceship sounds and buzz it around my room. That I did, and I quite enjoyed. So as you can see here, this is the in-game copy. I made it pretty hard for them as well. There's lots of ribs, lots of tight areas on these ships, and the 3D printer just pulled it off. Absolutely extreme. Now the first 2 ships that we've seen so far, this and the purple alien ship, have both been in the smaller size, so that's why the details on some areas are a little bit blurry, but if you ask them, they will actually recommend the size for your ship, so that's something you really should be doing if you plan on building one of these bad boys. So you can see the detail on the connector on the side, the crates, the weapons, and that grinder all on the front, looking absolutely beautiful. You see also the tones and the textures in the 3D print. One of the first few color 3D printers, and to have it used space age technology to actually print something from Space Engineers. I mean, even astronauts actually really in space are using technology like this to print tools and items that they need. Now of course I did print Henry as well. You may have seen this on their website. Now this is little Henry, here he goes. He's flying around the room, and I just thought I would show him off to you. He's got his beautiful little engine bays, and he's the largest size of model prints that you can actually get. He's got some areas reworked so he can be printed. You can actually just see the detail on the engine bays as well as the cannons. You can also see that gritty sort of texture from the 3D printing. Now I did smell these, and of course they smell like a plastic sort of burnt smell, but it doesn't really stand out too much, and it looks pretty damn good for what you're getting. So he stands up really well on his big thick sort of landing gears at the back. He's also got his rocket launchers and his Gatling gun placed underneath, and since he's a larger scale, everything is much clearer, just a lot nicer. So compared to his in-game, he's absolutely perfect. Now let's move on to the limitations of 3D printing, and there's a few of them that you need to take into consideration before you decide to print. Now the first thing is the structural integrity of your ship. So here on the left we have a weaker, earlier design of the Henry before I even considered it 3D printing. And on the right we have the version when I considered the 3D printing, how I want it to look, how I want it to actually be stable. And the first thing, or the first few things you want to actually take into consideration is, do you want it to stand up on the desk, how do you want it to stand, and more importantly, how thick and how strong its structural sort of integrity will be. So you can see here that we've only got 1 block separating the engine bay to the center hull. Now that is very weak in design, and bringing that into reality would simply fail. So over here we have the 3D printed version, 3 blocks actually thick, and you can see over here a good sort of example. So we've got 2 blocks over here, and this is a design that is printable and it's very usable. But this single sort of block, so if this was connecting 2 parts, it'd be very weak, very flimsy, and it simply wouldn't be able to print. Now moving on to the next limitation, there is of course the use of modded blocks. You cannot use modded blocks to actually print them, just due to them not having them modded blocks available to print and model and render as they're transferring them between their software. So you have to leave them out, replace them with your blocks from the standard game, and you'll be good to go. So we've now looked over the ship's limitations, and we can actually have a look around once again and finally check that it's ready to be exported. And exporting is one of the easiest tasks, so we're going to simply select any block, aim at the ship and hit Ctrl and E. Now you'll notice it says it's exporting the model, and it'll tell you exactly where it's exporting it to, and it'll tell you its name. So in this case it's called Bob V2. Now say you make further developments to design, you export another folder to there, you can simply rename the ship, go into the menu, press K, info, and we can call this one Bob V3 for instance, the third development of the Bob series of ship, and then we hit Control E once again. And now it's going to export it, and it's going to export it to that folder, Bob version 3. So we'll get our game now, and we'll start sending our ship in to get printed. So many of you that have seen these on Facebook have been asking how I managed to get them printed, so I've headed over to spaceengineerprints.com, and as you can see, there's a few of my ships circling the website, and I head over to the samples page, and from the samples page, I'm going to read through the instructions like I've done before. I've informed you of a few different things like the Control E. There's some sizes here, so we can have big to small. The price is going to vary, of course, and we've also got the browse option. So we're going to browse, find our ship, and we're going to have it in our zip folder, and simply we're going to add it to the cart, and we're pretty much ready to go. It's that simple, and you can get your ship from game into reality, and I can't say that's any more awesome. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to print, and I'll see you next time.